First off, the first thing you should do after college, if you get the opportunity, is like go away for a while, if you can. I started when I graduated from college. I started my first job a week and a half later, and I've been in the working world since. My wife went to Spain for 6 months.
When students ask you, well, Will, what's the next thing? What's the next internet thing? Like, what do you tell them they should get into and kind of hone their skills at?
Everything, which is the first thing. But the reason I say that is because there is, like, first off, it's impossible to predict. When I started Deadspin, YouTube did not exist yet. Like, if I wanted to do a video, I one time took like a picture with like a developed camera of my television and then posted it to the internet to say, look, television is happening right now. Like, that was like, things change so quickly. A lot of writers are very, I must think about what I'm doing and what is my motivation. To me, you just work. You sit down and you start working. So yeah, I like to keep busy. I'm very fortunate to be able to write for a lot of different places. I'm just going to do this until I collapse and die at my desk.
So when you come back and talk to students like you're doing now, is that what you tell them? Just content is the name of the game. Just care about what you're doing. Don't really care about the eyes on it.
I think that, like, the eyes matter. I don't mean to say they don't. You want people to read your stuff. You want people to affect. But I think if you start from that, you're reverse engineering the process. If you go with the idea, what are people going to like? What are people going to click on? You're missing the whole point of doing this in the first place. The whole idea, we go into this, we're in this room talking and we're writing and we're trying to make things and we're studying, to all with this idea that we have a passion for this. And we want to tell stories. We want to express ourselves. We want to connect people. We want to tell the story for people that cannot tell the story themselves. That is why we got into this. That's why we did all this. There is also a business aspect to this that involves page views and numbers and clicks and so on, but that comes next.
Started with the Daily Illini here at the University of Illinois. You were an editor, and then you founded Deadspin. You started this whole big thing.
There was a stretch in between that was less successful. But yes, I was at the Daily Illini. I graduated in 1997. I was a sports editor. I was briefly a very ineffective editor-in-chief for one summer publication. But while I was here, I wrote for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I was a stringer for the AP. I worked for a lot of places. But then I moved to New York after a couple of years out of school and starved for 4 years, like all writers are supposed to when they go to New York. But I was very fortunate to have kind of caught a break with founding Deadspin. Deadspin was my idea. I started in 2005. I kind of was looking for a place that got rid of the disconnect for the people that worked in sports and the people who consumed sport. If you saw me at an Illinois basketball game, I would not look like someone that's being jovial. Like, I'm stressing out, I'm pulling my hair out, but I'm a fan is the point. And for me, I wanted to find a way, and Deadspin allowed me to do that, and now my career afterwards, to still write about sports with passion, and I think hopefully perspective and feeling, but also still be able to be a fan.
With Deadspin, what was the vision? Like, did it meet your expectations? Did you go with it where you wanted and make that kind of connect between the two different parties?
I certainly think that it got much more popular much more quickly than I was expecting it to, which is great. That's what you want. You want to, when you have your $1 million idea, you want it to work and have it happen. But I also know myself well enough to know that I am not an actual entrepreneur. To see where Deadspin went and the fact that it got larger, but I think stayed true to the original vision, that was very exciting. And I was also knew myself well enough to know that I was probably not going to be the one that was taken there. And it's great because when you start a site that gets bigger after you leave, when they do something great, everyone's like, oh, Will, that's awesome. You found a Deadspin, way to go. And when you do something bad, they're all like, oh, that would have never happened if Will would have running Deadspin. It's a great deal. You get the best of both sides of it. It works out very well. For me, I would argue that, yes, those numbers count. If nobody read anything that I wrote, I would not get paid. Like, I'm aware that exists in that, but I don't think it's smart to go in with that mindset. Because if you go in with it, I think you're no longer writing for your readers. You're writing for yourself, or you're writing for your bottom line, or you're writing in some sort of kind of cynical way that I think takes you out of what this is supposed to all be about. People worry about this with sports journalism all the time. Is sports journalism in trouble? Sports journalism will be in trouble when people stop caring about sports. As long as they still like sports, if people stop liking sports, yes, sports journalism will be in trouble. As long as they still like sports, I think they're going to be okay. The key thing to remember is the central focus is the same. It is storytelling, it is clear, clean expression of ideas, and it is telling the story of people that cannot tell the story themselves.
Man, Will Leitch can talk a mile a minute, it seems like.
I mean, that interview felt like I read an entire book.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell you a whole life story in a couple minutes. Anyways, what did he mean towards that end there when he said, "You're telling the stories that people can't tell themselves"?
Yeah, well, it seems like there's not a story that Will Leitch can't tell the way he talks. But I think what he meant was you go out and you find someone with a story to tell, and they don't have the means or the opportunities to tell that story. And then you, as the journalist and reporter, give them that opportunity for more people to hear their voice and hear what they have to say, and just really put them up on a pedestal, so to speak, and give them a chance.
Yeah, and he was the Daily Illini editor at one time. How does that kind of relate back to Illinois and what we do here?
Yeah, I think Will Leitch is just a perfect example of what we're trying to do, especially, I mean, us here, we're trying to find these athletes and tell their story and give them a personality. And I mean, they have a personality, obviously, but let them tell who they are and tell us who they are. You know, maybe this guy has a certain hobby that is interesting or a certain background that people will like to hear about. And we give them that opportunity, and that's what we're trying to do. So I think it relates a lot. I think it's a really core value of not just us, but journalists and student journalists everywhere, just trying to give people an opportunity to be more than the athlete they are on the field or on the court.
Yeah, I could certainly see myself a little bit in him too, and I'm sure you feel the way here as a journalist here. But
Absolutely.
that was a great interview.
Thank you.
Anyways, let's move on to Tristan Kizik.